Hi, a few days ago I did a video about Bitcoin taking off after Elon Musk and Tesla announced they purchased $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin and then subsequently said they would try to accept it for Tesla purchases. This boosted the price of Bitcoin around 15%, making Tesla about $250 million on paper, maybe more, we don't really know, when Tesla purchased the Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin rally continues, and I think this might be a good time to really get into what is the point of cryptocurrencies, and do they have a future, and why this is probably a bad idea and a super bubble. First of all, Bitcoin is a collectible. People think it is money, and that is usually, when you start to drill into a crypto fan, they have a million reasons for owning it, but one tends to be that the dollar or currency, whether you're in Europe or America, the currency is somehow this bad product, and crypto coins fix this situation. So then it really comes down to what's wrong with the US dollar that we need to fix. And usually when you start getting into this, what comes up is, well, the dollar goes down over time. The US dollar is probably down around 90% in value over the last 100 years, meaning a candy bar that might have cost you 5 cents 50 years ago is now $1, let's say. And that goes for everything, cars, houses, whatever. Some price change obviously is just assets going up in value like a home, but most of it is inflation and the deflating dollar. And that is always held up as why it's such a failed idea, and how you can't keep your money in dollars because they will slowly become worthless and buy less and less. The funny thing is, those are actually the features of any currency that are appealing and why it is a currency. They're not a negative at all, which we'll get into in a minute. Basically, you have to remember why we have currency. Currency exists so you can transact in goods that you can't find a buyer for. Like, it used to be a barter economy. You'd trade a cow for a goat. And then, well, what if you wanted flour, but the guy you want has the flour, wants to sell to the girl who's got the goat, and you have the cow. Long story short, you just use a currency to exchange, where we'll all agree that this money has this value, and then we can trade the cow for the money, and then the money for the goat or whatever. So it's basically become the government's job to have the currency. Now, until governments were evolved, and had central banks and all these other things, they tried to use things of value as money, gold coins, silver coins, etc. But that is old-fashioned money, and we'll get into what's wrong with that. But basically, the currency is not supposed to be the asset. The goat or the cow or the real estate or the factory or stocks, those are the assets. The money is a medium of exchange that we can all readily agree on. It needs to decline over time, because if it went up in value over time, then you would hoard it. And if everybody hoarded currency, it would be like a failed economy where nobody puts money in the bank and doesn't lend out money, and there's no access to capital. Everyone's just hoarding the money. So you don't want to have, the money is only there between purchases. When you either are consuming and buying goods and services, or you are holding assets that hopefully will go up in price. You don't just keep sacks of cash in savings vaults unless you're a mobster or a foreign despot. It seems like your money's in dollars because of money in the bank, but in fact, you could earn interest, not right now with low interest rates, but money in the bank is actually lent out by banks, and then they pay you some percentage of it and they earn some money on it. It's not actual currency just sitting around in vaults. You don't want to hoard money. You want it in the economy, being lent out, functioning. Someone earns it this and spends it that. So pretend the dollar went up, everyone would own it, and then there'd be no money for borrowing or other problems. Also, if money didn't deflate, and let's say you could buy a house for $500,000, and you knew you could buy that same house for $300,000 in 10 years because money went up in value. Well, why would you buy the house? Like, you would just rent the house and just hold the money, because the money goes up in price. So in reality, you want a currency to slowly depreciate. That doesn't mean you want to have rampant inflation and like in Venezuela or another economy with its problems and they're printing money. But you want it to slowly deflate, which is why the central banks try to target about a 2% inflation rate. What they actually don't want is a deflation rate, which means money is essentially going up in value. That's not a good situation. And that is what happens in depressions. which kind of gets back to what was wrong with gold and silver as money. A lot of people still think it's money. It is not money. It hasn't been money in decades. And it has similar problems to having a crypto coin as money. When we had the gold standard, or there was silver certificates, the government couldn't create more money if necessary. Now, of course, people say, "Oh, who wants the government creating money during a crisis? We just created trillions of dollars last year during the COVID crisis." Well, when you don't have the ability to create money out of thin air, and there's a depression that gets bad, you get massive deflation and hoarding, and you can't put more money out into the system. That leads to wild swings down and up in an economy. You also can't pull money out of the equation. Our government, our central bank, has the ability to remove money if necessary to cool down an economy. When we were on a fixed money supply, so to say, with gold, there was panics and crashes all the time, depressions, boom busts. It was really bad. There's other reasons why those are gone, like bank insurance, but a major thing is we moved to a currency you could create and destroy at will that slowly depreciated over time. That's another problem with cryptocurrency or gold, is you need a currency not to fluctuate widely. It's very difficult to buy a Tesla if you're paid, let's say you've been saving up, you've got $70,000 for their entry-level model, and then all of a sudden, because of a change in the currency in the week before you were going to buy it, the value, you would need to have $100,000, let's say, or $50,000. You need to be reasonably confident that the value isn't going to change in the money in a week, let's say, or 2 weeks. It can change a little over a year, and it can change between, other currencies if you want to travel, but it can't just go up and down 30% in a week like Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies do, or gold and silver do. That kind of volatility, that speculative mania, doesn't work with how money needs to be spent in the economy. So, conclusion, money needs to be able to be created and destroyed. It needs to depreciate over time, and it needs to be relatively stable in the short run. None of those things are achievable by Bitcoin or gold or silver or any other alternative. And some people think those are features, because why would you want to have your money? Well, you don't have to have your money in currency. You can have your money in S&P 500 index funds or Apple stock. Now you've got an asset. It doesn't matter if the dollar declines over 50 years or 20 years, because those assets will inflate with everything else. And they pay dividends, so you're actually earning money while you're hoarding your money, unlike with crypto coin or gold or silver. And you could always sell the asset and buy, if you want to buy a car in dollars or in yen or whatever. Imagine you had 100,000 in index funds in a brokerage account. You would simply sell that. It goes into the cash account, and then you can use a debit card or just write a check from that account and buy whatever good or service. You don't need to keep 100,000 in currency slowly depreciating. So it's kind of a false negative anyway. You keep your money in assets, or you keep it in goods and services you are buying. And that is why, one of the many reasons, and we're going to get into more soon, of why crypto coins are bad. If you follow this channel, we'll get into more problems with crypto coins, because there are many. Thank you.